Steven here, and welcome back to our BestBuy Dataflow using the Products API. So when we last left off in the previous video, we made it all the way down to the split JSON, and we created the split on the products object. That way we can split each product into its own JSON and treat them individually and work with them and handle them that way. All right, so let's go ahead and continue. So now we want to work on putting this data into, first we're going to work on putting it into MySQL tables. And we're going to work with two different tables. So let me zoom in here, get nice and close. First of all, let's go ahead and get a set of data. So we'll run it one time here, let that get to work. And now we need to start making our changes here and getting things set up. So first thing I'd like to do is actually, oh, I just ran this too far. So let me rerun this again. I want to stop it here so it sits in this queue, not the other one. And then what I want to do is I'm actually going to change out this convert JSON because I don't want to do that yet. I want to add an extra step before we actually do that part. Okay, that's going to queue back up. So what I like to do is make sure when I put stuff into tables, I have an insert timestamp in there. So we need to go and add that. One way we can add it is through a query record. So let's go ahead and query record. Go ahead and create the relationship here with the split. And all we're going to do is just enrich it a little bit, give it a quick timestamp field, add that to a JSON, and then it'll be prepared for the table and the schema that I want to use in the table. Now from here, we go ahead and create our query. First, we have to set up the properties here. So we're going to have a JSON not path, tree reader basic. I'm going to use that one because I don't really have any changes to it. And then record set basic as well. Let's see, flow files that are 0. Well, we really shouldn't be having any, so I'm not worried about that. And now we can go ahead and create the query and give it a name for the property. And then what's our query going to have in it? So in this case, I want to go ahead and I could just get away with doing a, say, select all and then add my timestamp here, extra one. But because I'm going to put this into a table and I'm going to use the SKU as a primary key, I would like to make sure, just take another opportunity here since I'm already having to move it through this processor. And this is the query I'm going to use. I want to do a trim on the SKU just to make sure that there's no white spaces or any spaces or anything in the front or the back of the content itself. That way it's prepped and ready to be used as a primary key. And then go ahead and then, since I'm already doing that one, I put all my columns in here. And then now this is the expression language I'm going to use from Nifi in order to create my insert timestamp column. So it's the now, and then converting it to numbers to give me a Unix timestamp. Okay, that one's done. So this is the query we're going to use here. That's all set up. Shouldn't have any problems running. And then from here, our next step is going to be convert JSON to SQL. First of all, though, we need to go prep our tables. So let's move on over to dbeaver. And now in dbeaver here, you can see I already have the table schemas created. We're going to create two different tables. We're going to create one here called products monitor. And you can see this one has our SKU and then all the other values and then our insert timestamp that we had there that we created. And then in this one, I'm creating a primary key on the SKU. So I'll go ahead and run this one and get that created. And then my second table is going to be my products log. So where the intent of the first table here for products monitor is that I only have one record per SKU and there's no duplicates there. So we're going to be working with this and we're going to be doing updates to this table. In the second one, products log, my intent is basically make just like a transaction log. And the way we're going to do that is create the same table again, give it a new name, and then take away the primary key, and then it's all ready to go. So let's go ahead and run that. We can check our two tables, make sure everything looks good. There's the first one. There's the second one. Okay, so they're good. And we'll come back to this. Now we can go ahead and just refresh over here. We can see that our tables are there as well. All right, so let's jump back over to Nifi. Now the database is prepped for us. And now we can go ahead and start setting up our inserts into the table. So the first one we're going to take care of is going to be that transaction log table. And the way we're going to do that one is use the convert on JSON. Go ahead and create the relationship there for the query. And I'm going to take it this way so I can have two branching off of this one. It's not that far down though. And from here, we need to set it up. This is going to be inserts. The table name is going to be that table that we created, right? So that's the products log. And that's in our catalog BestBuy. Everything else looks okay. We don't need an update key. And we're done. Let's go ahead and finish that one off. And now we can go ahead and do the put. Route that in there. And let's get rid of the relationships we're not going to use. Oh, wrong one. The original. Let's go ahead and create the retry and terminate the failure in success. Go ahead and now we can go ahead and configure it too. And here we are. All we have to do is pick the server, and there's no changes we're making in here. Let's go ahead and give this one a name, and we can call it something like a insert into product log. So let's go ahead and do that. Insert into products log. There we go. So we know where this one's going now. Let's see. I think I might want to move this over a little bit. All right, so that one's done. And now we can go ahead and check it and see how it runs. First of all, it looks like, okay, yeah. So we got the 9 here from the different category, the pages that we had from the API. Now we can go ahead and split them. That's working fine. We need to terminate these relationships over here. This is ready now. So we're actually have to do some micro batching. So if there's a lot, it can get through them in bulk. Go ahead and start that part. And we can see it's running just fine. And that gives us a total of 498 records or flow files. And now we can go ahead and send them through the convert and then write them into a table. We have no errors there. So let's jump over to the table and make sure everything looks the way we intend it to be. So back here on the products monitor, we'll go ahead and run that one. And we can see we do have everything we're looking for. So we have our SKUs, the names, the models, manufacturers. So this is the values that we receive at the time that we ran. And you can see our insert is working on the end there. So our timestamp is working as well. And now we're getting these values back. So this is our transaction log. Every time we run it, we're going to get a duplicate. So if we go back over here, let's switch back over now to Nifi. And next time we run it, what we'll do is 498, we'll double that count inside of that table. So every time we run it, we have a additional transaction showing that run. Okay, so now let's work on a little bit different one. So we're working with MySQL right now. We'll work with a different database type later. But I want to, is there a way that we can really, I would prefer to have a table that just has the one instance of every product, so the 498 products we're collecting right now, with values that are being updated all the time. So no duplicates in that table, right? I don't want to have those duplicates, but I want to be able to insert new records into that table as they become available. So there's no straight up like in Elasticsearch you can do, there's an Upsert capability. MySQL, we really don't have a Upsert command, but what we can do is something a little bit different. And we're going to go ahead and make ourselves a custom PutSQL. So let's go ahead and get started on this one. Now on this one, the only thing we really need to do differently here is change the copy of this one, place it over here, take the query relationship again, add that. And now we can go ahead and see that we need to change the name, and I think that was monitor, products monitor. Everything else is still the same. We don't have to change anything in here now. And then let's go ahead and get our PutSQL, get a copy of that one too. All right, so we have this one in here. This is going to be renamed to monitor. Now, if we ran this, all it would do is insert records, right? Because over here, we're using the insert statement type. Well, that's just fine for the first run, but on the second run, we'll get errors because we know that the SKU is a primary key inside of that table, so we can't have duplicates on that. And when it goes to insert a second time in that 5-minute run, the next 5 minutes later, it's going to error out on all those and it won't do anything for us. So we can change that by using by modifying the statement, and we can't do it in here, right? There's no option in here to say Upsert or anything like that, and it's not even an option inside of MySQL. But what we can do is a different option, which is when we run the insert, we can add to the insert statement a on duplicate key update, and then from there tell it what needs to be updated if it runs across a duplicate key. So the primary key being SKU, when it goes to insert and it tries to insert the same SKU again, the behavior we want it to do is say, hey, well, this one already exists, so when it finds on duplicate key, it's going to perform an update instead, and it's going to update that one. Well, we need to change this SQL query that gets created. So let's go ahead and take a look here. Make sure I have everything stopped in the right spots. Okay, they are. We'll start this again, and we'll get some stuff down here from flow files. So we're going to go ahead and convert the flow files over and then take a look at it. So what happens in the flow file is when it runs through there, we can see that the ConvertSQL or JSON SQL creates a insert statement. So insert into the BestBuy.products monitor. Here's our column names, our field names, and then the values, and then the placeholder for the values, which reference back to the attributes that got created. Well, what we want to do is at the end here, add on duplicate key update, and then list off what we want to update. Well, how do we add that in there? Because that's the tricky part, right? So the way we can accomplish this is through the PutSQL statement. We still need the convert because it's going to create those attributes for those parameters that we need to fill into the statement. But what we want to do is, you see here we have SQL statement as well, right? So the SQL statement to execute, and it can be empty. If it's empty, it will use the one that's coming from the convert JSON SQL. But if we put a new one in here, this will overwrite that one. It will use this one instead. So, and that's what we want to do. Now, let's go ahead and add our statement here. And this is what we're going to run. It's going to be kind of big. So you can see it's mostly the same. Insert into the table. Here's all our field names. The values are still there. But now we have something a little bit different. So on our next line, we have our on duplicate key update. This is telling it when it comes across a duplicate SKU that's trying to insert, instead of airing out, perform the update instead. And now we have to pass it what we want to update. And in this case, we can't just put question marks in there because it's not going to work. So we need a reference back to the attributes that were created by that JSON or convert JSON to SQL. It creates these attributes right here. And in this case, we don't need to update everything. We're starting with value 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're starting with a regular price. And we're saying, okay, well, when we do this update, the things that really can change and that we care about tracking changes to is going to be regular price, sell price, the online and in-store availability, the customer review information, and then we want to do a update to a timestamp so we know the last time this was updated. So we see that that's actually pretty easy. All we have to do is say update and then regular price, so the field name equals the attribute. And we'll use an expression language in here to get the attribute to come through. We do that for all of them. And then when we get to the very end, there's one thing we have to do different. We can't do that to the insert timestamp because it is a timestamp field. But what we can do is tell it to update itself with the current timestamp, which will go ahead and update the field and not error out on us. Because if we try to pass the argument through, it's just going to error out and it's not going to like that. So this is how we get around that. We just say, hey, perform an update to the timestamp and use current timestamp. So this is how we're going to basically create our Upsert. Go ahead and finish that one, apply it. All right, so now we have our other route created, and now we can go ahead and run this. So the expected result is any new records will get inserted. And then anytime it comes across duplicates, we won't add more of the same SKUs, we'll just update the existing SKU, creating an Upsert operation. We'll tell it to go ahead and use the retry. We'll terminate the other ones, which are already done. And now we can go ahead and run this and give it a minute to perform its operation. And there we go, it's done. So let's jump over to the database and see what our results are. Okay, so back here in dbeaver, we're going to go ahead and query that table. Did I pass it into the wrong table here? Okay, so I got something wrong. Let me go figure out what that is. All right, welcome back. So I got that figured out. Made a mistake here. So the mistake was when let's see, when I set up the statement that we used here, I was using my test environment when I was trying to make sure I had the query correct, and was pointing to the wrong thing. So I just had to change this, put it back to BestBuy, and we're good to go. And now that ran, and we just ran more records through it, so you can see 996 total, so we ran it twice. Let's jump back over to the database here and take a look at what we have there. And in the database, we can see when we run this, we have our results, so 498. So now, if we go over here and look at the timestamp, here's our timestamp from this run. We'll go ahead and just add that here, keep track of it, and we can go ahead and perform a second run now. Everything is turned on, yep. Let's go ahead and stop it before it goes again, tell it to run. Now it's perform another additional run. So this will be the third run for the transaction table, but a second run on the monitor table. And you can see 996 now, so we just doubled the count. If we jump on over there and confirm what we have, so back here in dbeaver, we can rerun. So first of all, we can look at the log table, right? See how many we have in there. And we can see we are up to 1,992, so 3 runs done in there. But let's look at the monitor one. And in here, we're still holding at that 498. We can confirm that the update did occur because we can see our timestamp now is 27:56, so 1 minute later, over a minute later there, almost. So we can see that the update is working correctly. And we're getting the intended results that we wanted. So this is perfect, exactly what we're looking for, right? We have one table, one result, it just gets updated all the time. And we easily, instead of having to create some messy little way to handle for the inserts of new records and the updating of existing records, we're just taking care of it all at once with a simple little on duplicate update option inside of mySQL, which lets us get away with performing what's basically an upsert. All right, so that works just fine there. Now we can go ahead and keep running it, and we'll keep getting updates here. We'll have a transaction log for this data as well. Any new products, or if we change the monitor categories, and we go in there and we tell it, hey, go and let's go flag another category to start getting monitored as well and pick up more, then we'll end up adding those new records in here. And we can confirm also with this query too, to confirm that we don't have duplicates on the SKU. So we have one SKU per. So this is exactly what I'm looking for. In my next video, I think when we come back, let's go ahead and jump back over here to Nifi. In the next video, when we come back, we'll work on taking this data and place it into other environments as well. Because honestly, like doing this operation here, so you have this may not be the best place you want to store this data. It could cost, I'm not sure what the costs are. Honestly, this is the first time I used the on duplicate update inside of MySQL before. So I'm not sure what the cost is really to have it perform those two operations at once. So it could be costly at the very end. You never know. And so you'd have to experiment with it, see if it's really what you want. But we'll also work with other databases as well, whether it's Elasticsearch or Couchbase, and take that data in there and work on retrieving it from there also. So here you go. Being able to insert data into a table using a custom query inside of the PutSQL processor and basically get us the results we're looking for. I'll catch you in the next video. Have a good day.